to leverage the magical arts of positive motivation and manipulation. Yes, we're starting a minute and a half early. You always want to be early to something and then stay late, because when you're early, that's when you get the most, and you stay late during an event or whatever. It's, I don't know, that's what I have found. This is a backstage pass, just an audio recording. Tom, thoughts on, we're getting ready to do lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, I think it's 5, on present solutions. Yeah, 5. Any ideas on this, or just leverage in general?
Well, I think I've kind of had a standing rule with any teams I've worked with is that they don't just come with the problem. You gotta come and present some solutions. May not work, and they may be the best in the world. We'll figure that out as we go forward. So I'm kind of anxious to see how this all pulls together.
Randy, how are you doing on gaining clarity on what you want from leverage and succeeding at that?
Good morning. So I guess the short answer is I'm not making any progress.
Are you okay with that?
No, but
I think you are.
It's the honest truth.
Well, I think the honest truth is you are okay with it.
Because otherwise I'd do something different?
Right, because, you're a pretty driven guy, pretty successful guy. Like when you fix things, you move things, like I don't know. My experience with you is if you're not happy with something, that you correct it.
Fair.
So I think you are happy with it, which I'm fine with. I don't care. As long as you're happy with it. So, questions, Randy?
Not this moment, no.
Now in the past, I don't know if Tom's heard this. Have you guys all heard that I've asked people for blind spots? My blind spots, I've asked like 20 people.
Yes.
And my number one, the one that has come up the most, which is only 3 times, but it's the one that's the most, is that I care too much about people. Questions or thoughts? Okay. So I've decided for the next 18 months not to care about anything other than money and me. So the only thing I care about is money and me, in that order. I used to care about me and money, but then I discovered that my ego got in the way and it caused me to not make as much money, so I switched the order. And so it's first money and then, me secondary. So in the past, I used to care about Randy, but now I don't. So if Randy's not getting what he wants out of the course, I don't care about that. Pretty exciting, huh?
It's fair.
So how do you guys think my life's going to be over the next 18 months if I only care about money and I only care about me?
Tough.
For whom?
I guess you and everyone else.
No. I've been doing it for like 5 weeks. I'm telling you, Nicole, my life is so much easier. It's insane. I mean, I'm making a lot more money. My marriage is better. Everything's better in my life as a result of just focusing in on M&M, me, money and me.
Are you achieving your life vision?
That's not money and me. I'm not concerned about my life vision. Money and me, that's all. So I don't care about my life vision anymore.
You've cared about it for
When did all this change?
About 5 weeks ago.
Oh,
It's really
what precipitated the change?
Well, this group. This group was a large influencer on it. It's like I'm like, my gracious, if I want to gain leverage, I got it. Money, I'm telling. Do you guys know when you make a lot of money and you're pounding out the money? Do you know how much leverage you get? A lot. Let me tell you. So yeah, this group helped to be a catalyst to it.
Well, I've known you for God knows how long. And I don't believe it.
That's so weird, Tom. Like, there's so many people that are saying that. So, Tom, what can I do to show you that I only care about money and only care about me?
Call all your kids up and tell them everything you've told them up till 5 weeks ago was all BS.
Okay, I'll do that. I don't care about my wife, my kids, not even my grandkids. My 5 grandkids don't. Only money, only me. Because I got to do this experiment for 18 months to see what happens, in my life. I'm guessing my life is going to get a whole lot better. It already is.
I can tell you it won't. I've been there.
Yeah, but people don't understand because they haven't heard your story. But there's 3 times that you've teared up in, 15 years whenever we've known each other, and that was one of the times.
And you'll find out. You'll experience it if you keep going down this path.
But I'm only going to do it for 18 months, Tom.
Well, see, an old friend of my dad's once told me, having to do with money. He said there's an interesting thing about wanting money. He says everybody needs some. You need to have some amount of money to survive, to be able to, not really survive. You could guess eat bushes and weeds and whatever, but to have a comfortable life. But he says when you chase after money, he says at some point it will grab you. And if you don't understand what it's doing to you, it will take you down a rabbit hole so fast you can't see. You'll spin out of control. And so his advice to me was, he says, you just need to always understand who's in control, you or the money.
So I know the vaccine against that, Tom.
What?
I learned it when I was 14, 15 years old. For those that are listening to this, this may be the most important, leverage lesson you've ever had. Because what we're talking about here is positive. People think they know because they've never internalized it. So I went through what Tom's been through. If you ever get a chance, we ought to do a session on that one for sure. I went through what Tom has experienced. But I did it in my mind rather than in life. So there's certain, guardrails. Does anybody know the inoculation to not allow money to control you? Or I know what Tom's talking about. And I know how to have an inoculation against it. Does anybody else know how not to go ahead and not have money control you? So I don't know where. My parents taught me to tithe, kind of, sort of, I guess. So when I was 14, I was younger than that, but at 14, then 15, I got a job, and I was doing lawns, and I was a pretty enterprising guy. At 16, I had 6 jobs in the summer, 2 of which were full-time. I made so much money, it was insane. People wonder why I got the signature. They say, you have a signature that looks like a doctor signature. And the reason I have the signature that I do is because I had to sign so many, pay checks when I was a kid. I just did it fast. I made so much money, it was insane. I was also in soccer, and I went to, so I traveled. So, there was this 16-year-old boy, testosterone going, playing soccer, so hungry. And we'd stop at McDonald's on the way home, and I would go ahead and order and I love Big Macs. Just loved them, oh my gracious. But I'd buy a fish sandwich. Again, if you're not tracking this, stick with it. Eventually you'll connect the dots. Tom's connecting the dots right now. Learn to be a great student like Tom. So I bought a fish sandwich because it saved me 30 cents. And I was making thousands of dollars a month as a teenager. But I wouldn't go ahead and spend 30 cents because I'm like, that's an indulgence I don't need. I just need food. I don't need a Big Mac. I'm going to not do it. But yet I gave away hundreds of dollars a month to a church, the church that my parents, that I was in. My mom and dad never pressured me. They just said, hey, I think it's a good thing that you tithe. So I, gave 10% and gave more. So I was giving away literally thousands of dollars a year, and I wouldn't spend 30 cents extra on myself. So the inoculation to prevent money from controlling you is to give it away. Because when you give away money, it's like it doesn't have a hold on you. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next 18 months if I earn more money in the next 18 months than I have in the last 28 years combined. Wouldn't shock me a bit. And I'm not afraid that it's going to control me because I'll just give it away. But don't mistake me giving it away as that I care about people, because I don't. Not for 18 months. So I'm telling all my kids this, and I'm telling everybody, and nobody believes me, Tom. So I need you to believe me to say, yeah, no, Mark really, all he cares about is money and himself. Questions?
When you first told me your life vision, I believed it from the second you said it. There was a tone in your voice that said, yeah, I believe this. I've internalized this. Therefore, my behavior will change. Therefore, my outcome will happen. I didn't hear that tone in this conversation.
I've got to work on that a little bit. So actually, Nicole, going back to your question, I believe I have to do this for 18 months to achieve my life vision. If I don't do this for the next 18 months, I won't achieve my life vision.
Why?
Because I won't understand people. Like in the last 5-6 weeks, I'm like, oh, that's why people do that. Oh, my gracious, that makes all the sense in the world. So I just think people are like me. I just think people care. They don't. So until I stopped caring about my wife, I didn't understand why people don't care about their spouse. But now I get it. I'm like, oh, my gracious, life is so much better. Oh, so much better. And
what's the answer to that one? I want to hear that one.
Why it's better?
No, when you stopped caring about your wife, how did that get better?
Right? Like, Rosanna, is our marriage not unbelievable better? Like, is it not the best it's been in 35 years?
It's been very interesting, that's for sure.
Still don't believe it.
So we're in Hawaii, okay? We're in Hawaii, and I've asked all these people, 20 people, what my blind spots are, and I'm really taking them seriously, big time. Like, can you care too much? I do. I think I do, and I think that hurts me, and I think it hurts other people around me a lot because I care too much. Because then they don't have to care. You guys don't have to care for one another because I care for all of you. If I stop caring for Randy, well, then maybe somebody else will slide in and care for Randy. Probably not, but I don't care. Like, he's a big boy. Like, I don't know, And so what I do is I care so much. It's like having Michael Jordan on your team is like, well, just let him carry the weight, and so nobody else has to. So except my daughter, she went ahead and said my blind spot. Well, no. The only one that's caught me off guard was my wife. So at Hawaii, she went ahead and shared something that was like one of the waves hit me, and I'm like, you got to be kidding. Like in 35 years, she's never said it. Never said it. In 35 years. And she said something, and it just floored me. I was hurt. I was angry. I was mad. I was disappointed. Like, it was devastating to me. And it was truly a blind spot. Like most other people say, Mark, maybe you're a little too aggressive. That's a blind spot? You don't think I know that? I mean, I'm fine with them saying it. But see, I internalized when Mike Radford said to me, you care too much. Cindy Bishop, probably 15 years ago, she went ahead and she was leading up Action Vision coaching. And I asked all the Action Vision coaches, I said, what could I do to improve as a leader? And she said, you care too much. And I wrote it off. I'm like, well, that's just me. I'm not going to stop doing that. When I was 24 years old in the mortgage industry, struggling to survive, making $1 an hour, busting my tail off, trying to balance my marriage with my, new little girl, my daughter, and I'm making $1 an hour, getting decimated. And then I'm, move into management, but don't get paid anything more. It's still straight commission, and I'm recruiting a sales force. And I recruited my first guy ever. And I don't know, about 4 months later, he quit. President of the company, like I started, tearing up, like crying. And the president saw me, and he's like, Mark, for crying out loud, you care way too much. This is 24 years old, 30 years ago, 31 years ago. He's like, you care too much. He's like, you're going to get destroyed and decimated in this industry. You can't care so much. And I remember thinking, no, Tony, that's why I'm so awesome, buddy. It's because I care so much. Like, I'm not going to give this up. So for 31 years, I've been stubborn. I didn't listen to him. I didn't hear what he was saying at a deep level. I didn't hear him saying, like, Mark, if you care too much about people, they won't care about themselves. If you care too much about, like the leverage group, if you care too much about this group, they won't care about themselves. You won't give them the opportunity to care about the course. You won't give them an opportunity to care about one another. I didn't hear him, Tom. And so when we look at it, I didn't listen. 31 years ago, I didn't listen at the frequency. I didn't see. I didn't listen and see. And if I can't listen and see, then I can't think. And so I've internalized every one of these lessons, and I don't want to go on to the next lesson until I've totally absorbed it. See, I care too much about every one of you. I care too much about you. I care too much about your marriages. I care too much about your kids, about your work. I care way too much about all of you. So I'm not going to care. I'm going to do an experiment. And in that experimentation, I'm going to learn things about how people think. And that's how I'm going to reach the 7.4 billion people. Because like I go to these men's retreats, like Act Like Men and all these Christian things, and somebody gets up and says, men are selfish. I'm like, I just don't remember that. Like I don't ever remember. I don't remember it. I've never experienced that in my life. So I go home from these men's retreat and said, honey, they say men are selfish, and all the men around me are like, yeah, we're selfish. I'm like, am I selfish? And she's like, no, honey. Like, you are the least selfish person. You care for people so great. So I'm going to stop, because it's the only way. Like, the only way I can become an amiable is to be an amiable for 2 years. The only way I can become an expressive is to be an expressive for 3 years. I'm hoping that I can really get this money in me. Like, you're the only one, Tom. Well, you and Alan, you guys get me. I mean, my wife does too. My kids do too. Questions?
I think I get it.
What do you get?
No, it makes sense. It's like when I first moved out, she overcared, and she was over so often that I never really needed to do anything. But then when she stopped coming over as often and I had to figure it out, I had to figure it out. I had to grow up, and now I can do it.
See, I've gained infinitely more than all of you from this course, and 6 weeks ago I cared. I'm like, why aren't they gaining it? Like, I cared so much about all of you. I'm like, it's just morally wrong that I'm getting so much more from the course. And I'm sharing everything I'm learning with my wife and my kids and my grandkids and everybody else. And it's like, I don't think they're sharing it with very many people. I don't think, like, everybody I talk to, I'm like, man, this group is amazing. But Peter comes up with this brilliant idea, brilliant, like spectacular, idea to go ahead and meet on Monday. And then Randy's like, oh my gracious, that's a great idea. I'm going to do it. And then Ski, he's like, yeah, I'm there. And Tom, he showed up because he thought he was supposed to. But the last 2 weeks, it's just been Ski and I wasn't even going to be there. But I'm like, well, I don't want them getting more than me. Like, I want to go ahead, now that I'm caring more about me, like just me. I'm like, wait a minute, they might be getting stuff that I'm not. I'm going to jump on, and it's just Ski and I. And I'm telling you, I'm getting 10 times more than I got before. But Ski, like, he doesn't, like, I'm like, crush Peter and Randy. But Ski's too nice of a guy. Like, he's just a nice guy, so he won't. And it's a shame, because Peter and Peter and Randy could get so much out of the course, if they were to follow through on that 30 minutes prior, on Monday. But they probably won't unless you kick their heads in. And I told Ski, I said, Ski, it's weird, Ski. At Peter's, Tom's, and Randy's level, they actually like when you kick their heads in. Like, they actually respect you. They're like, like, and I think, like, you guys, as I don't care more and more, and it's hard, and as I focus more and more on money, which is also hard, that you guys will focus more and more on caring for one another.
Do you think it's possible that you could care in the wrong way?
Yes. I mean, we've learned that in leverage. That? Well, we've learned that in leverage because every leverage talks about the differences in personalities. So Tom was one of the ones who inspired me to become an expressive for 2 years. And if it wasn't
That's
for
the
Tom,
craziest 2 years ever.
she's thanking you, Tom. And so I studied Tom for, I don't know, probably 6-7 years, and I said, I want to be like Tom. Like, Tom can be more aggressive than me, but he doesn't vaporize people. And I want to be like that. Like, my heart is, I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to vaporize people. I want like everybody in my life. But I have a hard time with stupid. So I got to figure out how to seduce people like Tom does. So I spent 2 years in that world. Randy, what are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking I need to add that appointment back to my Monday calendar.
So, Ski, do you see how that works?
Yeah, I do.
See, you care too much, too. See, it's one of the reasons you guys don't go ahead and introduce me to other people in your network. And I don't know that any of you know why, but I know why. Because you guys are afraid I'm going to vaporize people in your network. Because you've seen me do it to my own friends, my own people, my own wife, my own kids, even my grandkids. I mean, it's just like Mark has just, but I've changed a lot in the last 6 weeks. I've changed a lot in the last 6 months, 6 years. Like, I'm not the person that you knew me to be. So now I'm very, like, I don't want to meet, the people in your life. Because I don't care about you. I don't care about them. I don't care about anybody other than, money and me. But if they can go ahead and make me money, oh my gracious, I will seduce them like nobody's business. I'll leverage it like nobody's business. And they're going to come back to you and they're going to say, that guy was the most charming guy in the planet. And what will all of you do?
Laugh.
You will all laugh. Thank you. That's my wife. You will all laugh and say, you don't know Mark. You don't know him. Because, see, when I care about money, I don't vaporize anybody. I'm nice to everybody. Because that's, if you want to make a lot of money, you have to be nice to everybody. You never tell people the truth. Like, what was I thinking for 55 years? I was thinking I was caring for people. Don't care for people. All you do is tell them what they want to hear, and then kind of slide in some things. And so anybody you introduce me to, now the nice thing is when I make money, the people you introduce me to make will make money, and then you'll make money too. Like, we'll all make a bunch of money. I mean, it's simple. And then everybody will be happy because we're all making money. And then I'll learn something in those 18 months on how to balance caring and making money. Randy, I know you got to go here in 3 minutes. Any closing comments, thoughts, insights?
Excuse me. Nope, I'm going to keep listening.
Okay. Nicole, what would you like to accomplish today?
Well, I wanted to learn how to build an effective GT system. My original question. But now I'm curious about the not caring and how much my overcaring affects even like the kids in the foundation.
A lot. Like,
so
being a grandfather, like, I'm telling you, the things I'm learning, like, my wife and my daughter care too much about my granddaughter. And they care in an improper way. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying that, I went ahead and had a conversation, and she's 2 years old. So we were at church, driving home. My daughter, who's a single mom, she was, in the back seat behind me. My granddaughter was, in a car seat, and my wife was beside me. And I explained to my granddaughter, I said, sweetheart, your grandmother and your mom love you a lot. But I just want to tell you, honey, you're not going to get ice cream every time you do something good. See, sweetie, Grandpa loves you in a very different way than probably anybody else. And so what I want to help you to understand, sweetie, is that sometimes you need to go ahead and just do the right thing just because it's right. And you're not even going to get praised, honey. You just won't. Nobody's going to say anything good about you. Nobody's going to clap for you. Nobody's going to go ahead. Like, you're just going to have to do the right thing, honey, just because it's the right thing to do. And you should get enough satisfaction in doing the right thing. You don't even need any praise.
What'd she say? Or what'd she do?
She's 2 years old.
Well, did she laugh? Did she?
She's 2 years old.
I know.
I don't know. She just looked at me like with these blank eyes, like I taught her not to be selfish. So it was really interesting. Like, I see her every day. They live really close, and so she comes over almost every day. And she is very willing. This connects into leverage. I'm just telling you guys, this is all about leverage. I mean, leverage is helping me to be a better grandfather to my granddaughter. So I noticed that she would come and sit on my lap, and if, I was eating a, fudge bar or something, she had no problem sharing with Grandpa, and I had no problem sharing it. She comes, she eats off my plate. I mean, whatever. But when she got a popsicle, she would never share with Grandpa. Never. And so I'm like, this is not going to go well with her. This is not going to go well. She's not, oh my gracious. I thought I taught my 7 kids to care. I mean, they did send me to Hawaii, which was pretty cool. So that was I'm like, wow. I mean, I did something like that to my parents when I was probably 14 or 15. I said, oh, they're not ever going to spend money, so I'll spend money. And I got my brothers and sisters together and got money or the church together and said, my parents will never do stuff that you guys will do. So how about if we can't give them the money because then they'll keep it, or they'll give it away or something. They won't ever spend money. So I'm going to spend money on doing this. And so with Lily, the way I broke her of that, is I went ahead and my wife is like, you're so mean. Oh my. So I went ahead and asked her if she would go ahead and share with Grandpa. I said, oh, you got this popsicle, will you share? And she's like, no, mine. Lily's. She'd say Lily's. I'm like, okay. So I went and got, this other, this yogurt bar or whatever, and she wanted to share. And I'm like, no, it's Grandpa's. And then I'm like, does this ever taste good? And she started crying. And she looked at me with her huge eyes, and she was so pathetic. It was so heartbreaking. But from that point forward, I said, I'll share. If you share with Grandpa, I will share with you. From that point forward, she always shares her food with me. So it's like tough love. And so you guys need to care about one another a lot more than you do. You need to care about yourself. See, the reason I care so much about others is because I care so much about myself. So Tom is famous for saying, you can't give to somebody else something that you first don't have. People don't care about themselves. And that's obvious. It's evident. So you guys don't care about why you've been put on this planet, otherwise you'd have your life vision. And then if you cared about yourself, your life vision, and all of eternity, which, I'm 55, so I'm thinking both my parents passed away, my grandmother passed away. As you get older, your friends and your parents and, people start dying, and you start thinking, is there something after this? Now, I was blessed to be concerned about that probably since the age of 8. But it's even more relevant now. So I'm concerned not only for all of you guys and your money and success and everything else, but I'm concerned for your eternity like crazy. And what I have found is that when I can make people a lot of money, then they'll actually listen to me and say, I talked to your wife and it's weird. She absolutely adores you. She worships you. How do you get a woman to do that after 35 years? Especially you're so tough on her. It wouldn't seem to work. And your kids, all except for your 18-year-old, he hates you. At least he says. Anyways, that's another story. And so, if I can get each of you to just care about 2 other people in leverage, it'll transform your lives. But that's not the hard part. The hard part is getting them, those two people, to care about two other people in leverage. Like, all you got to do is care for two people. You don't have to care. Like, I care for all of you. And my capacity seems to be somewhere around 20-ish, 30-ish. And then all of a sudden, it kind of collapses because I don't know how to teach other people to care. So on my Hawaii vacation, number one thing I learned is how I'm a bad leader. I'm a terrible leader. Number two thing I learned is that I'm a great leader. Number three thing I learned, I think it was the third, is art's not working. Like, somehow in this group, I haven't taught you all to care about two people. And once you care about those two people, they have got to care about the next two people. They have to. And so it's been an epic failure. But that's okay, because my whole life is an epic failure. Like, it's not a big deal. I know how to fix things, and so, so I go to leverage here, and so I've got to get Jill to care for Ski and Tom. I got to get Jill to go ahead, and it's 5 minutes. Like, all you got to do is 5 minutes to two people. It's 10 minutes out of 10,080 minutes. It's like, care for two people. Well, what if I don't get value from them, Mark? It doesn't matter. It's 10 minutes a week. Like, text them, call them. And then Jill, what's harder for Jill, it'll be easy for Jill to care for two people. But the hard part is to get Ski to care for Nicole and Murray, and Tom to care for Randy and Peter. And then it's going to get hard to get Nicole. She's got to care for David, and David's a hard person to care for, let me tell you. He reminds me of a couple of my kids. Love him to pieces like I do my kids, but he's a realtor. That says everything. Like, Tom's like laughing. Oh, that explains everything, Mark. Yeah. Like, he doesn't follow through. And then Murray's got to go ahead and do two people. And then Randy's got to do two people. Well, there's some open slots. Well, invite somebody in that you want to teach them how to care or teach them how to leverage. Like, why do I have so much leverage with so many people? Because I care so much. And over the next 18 months, I'm going to care less. And what they do is when they see me caring less, they start to appreciate, like my 28-year-old daughter, Melissa, in Hawaii. Oh, my gracious, the stories I could tell you about. She cares so much about me, it's insane. Like, it is insane because I'm pulling back. Tom, I don't know how much time you got.
I got a few minutes.
Any thoughts, questions, insights?
No, it's been pretty interesting to listen
What's
to.
interesting about it?
I think I'll hold comment until we have another couple conversations.
So, do you know why I need to get you to go ahead and say publicly, Mark only cares about money, and he only cares about money and himself. He doesn't care. Not only that, he wants everybody else to care about him too. Like, he is the most narcissistic, self-centered, self-absorbed human being on the planet. Do you know why I need you to go ahead and get to the point where you can see that and say that?
No. Why?
Because if my wife says it, she can't say it without cracking up. She just laughs. And my kids, my 18-year-old, he would probably say it, but then, he's 18, nobody will believe him. And so you're probably one of the closest people, and everybody knows you. Anybody that knows me knows you. So they've all heard of you.
So you want me to practice practice a statement about you that would not be the truth?
Well, are you familiar with QT, LT, and DT?
No.
QT is quantum thinking. I learned that on Friday on a mastermind call, that I think at a quantum level. Most people think at an LT level, which is a linear thinking. It's why people don't understand me. because they're linear in their thinking. So they think, what's he talking about his grandkids for on a leverage call? Like, I didn't come for that. So I was talking to Ski, and I said, a lot of people challenge me. Have you noticed Tom never challenges me? Not once. You do, but not like anybody else. Other people challenge me to prove their point that they're right and I'm wrong. You will only challenge me to discover the truth. And Ski said, I've noticed that about Tom. And so LT is linear thinking, and the advantage of linear thinking is you make a lot more money because it's very methodical. It's step one, step two. Teaching people to think. Are you familiar with quantum physics or quantum computing or anything, Tom?
Oh, very little.
So the Russians and the Chinese are gobbling up and hacking into all kinds of different places and getting data that's encrypted, and they can't break it. Do you know why they're gathering up a ton of data that they can't break because it's all encrypted?
No.
It's because they know quantum computing is coming down the road. And in another 10 years, they're going to have quantum computing, and quantum computing will break all the – if we had a quantum computer now, it would break all of our passwords. Nothing would be safe. Everything would be open. So they're gathering up all of this data in anticipation of quantum computing so they can go in and unlock all that data. The only thing that will protect from quantum hacking is quantum protection, which none of it's there, but they're working on trying to get to it. So it's so intriguing. And so quantum thinking is why you and I enjoy each other so much. Like, you and I enjoy each other more, I think it's fair to say, when nobody else is around. Because we're not hindered by linear thinking. Like, we're like two little boys that just can unleash our minds into the universe to see what happens. And so linear thinking is what people do, and there's nothing wrong. Like, linear thinking is not bad. It's actually really good, because you got to go and do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 4, 5. You got to do those things to make money. You want to make a lot of money. Linear thinking is necessary for you and everybody else, so everybody knows the role. Quantum thinking, if you want to reach 7.4 billion people, you got to do quantum thinking, and you got to get other people around you to think quantum-wise as well, which is a totally different way of thinking. DT is demonic thinking. And a lot of really conservative Christians that think they're really spiritual are actually doing DT and don't even realize it. So demonic thinking is thinking it's where I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you. This can't be solved. I'm not worth anything. Like, all of that is demonic thinking that's designed to destroy the mind, which I believe is really where the soul is at, is in the mind. It's not in our heart. Our heart, you can transplant my heart with your heart. So what? You just gave me your soul? No, the soul is not in the heart. The soul is in the mind. And you can't transplant somebody's brain, because it's the soul. That's where it resides.
Well, that's some pretty deep thinking.
So quantum thinking, I can actually get you to say, or I think, I'm pretty sure, in seconds to see what I'm seeing. So if caring about money and caring about myself, if I am the most caring person in the world, then I have the bandwidth, the capacity to care for myself, about money and myself. So the more I care about myself, the more I can care about other people. So if I am the most caring person somebody's ever met, the most giving person, the most uninterested in money person on the planet, well, then I can also be the most caring about myself and money, but people won't understand you, which you love to do. You love to jam people's senses, and it's like, so you'll love this. You'll say, oh yeah, Mark is the most, yeah, I've never met anybody so focused on money and so focused on himself. And they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, and I love hanging around the guy. And it'll jam their senses. They won't be able to process what you're saying because you're going in the quantum realm. See, you're the one that taught me this, Tom, when we were in Nashville with David Logan, it's when I asked you, I said, Tom, I've noticed that you say things that are outside the box, like things that jam people's senses, and then you wait about 3 seconds, and then you say, what I mean by that. And you're like, oh, yeah. Do you know why I do that? I'm like, no. And you're like, because it gets their attention. So you did that with the president of East. So you're doing all of this, but you're doing it on an unconscious competence level, which means you can't teach it to other people. So not only do we have to have something to teach it, but we have to know we have it in order to teach it, because if we don't know we have something, if we're on the unconscious, which is the quantum level, everyone has the capability of thinking on a quantum level. But, like, nobody cares enough about themselves to do that. Murray, any questions, thoughts? You have anything you want to accomplish?
No, not today.
What did you think of
I'm
today?
meeting with Steve this afternoon.
Oh, good.
And I'll go over this with him when I see him.
So make sure you say, don't be Eeyore. Don't make sure because people want to work with people who are excited. They don't want to work with Eeyore.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be really positive. Be positive about the Action Vision coaching and everything you've accomplished. Don't look at the negative. Look at the positive. About the EVAs, they have rocked your life. I mean, Tell him about those type of things. See, if you're really positive and you're saying positive things about the other people, they will want to work with you and the other people around you. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Cool. Elise, anything you got?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Tom, anything else you got?
No, I think I'm good.
So if you're listening to the rebroadcast of this, I mean, this is the benefit of a backstage pass. Like, you don't get this. You take the 7-week course, you don't get this kind of stuff. Why not? Because you haven't built the relationship with me for me to go ahead and unleash the quantum thinking on you, because it vaporizes most people. They're like, the guy's insane. And you just go ahead, and if you're talking with Tom, my wife, or my kids, or even my 2-year, Tom, you'll get a charge out of it. My 2-year-old granddaughter, do you know what she'll say about me?
No.
Cray cray. Seriously. It's so hilarious. She and I are so connected. So my daughters went ahead and, they're trying to influence her. And so they're like, Grandpa's cray cray. He's crazy, crazy. So she picked it up and she said, cray cray. And then all of a sudden, it's so awesome. Like, she'll say, Grandpa's cray cray. And she can see when I go into the quantum realm, because she'll say, Grandpa's being cray cray now. Like, she's 2 years old. And then out of nowhere, she's like, Lily's cray cray. She started adopting that onto herself, and now she's like, Lily's cray cray. And once in a while, she'll say, Grandma's cray cray, or her mommy's cray cray. Like, it's the most cutest, it's the craziest thing. Like, it's wild on the kids and how they process. Like, anyways, it's just, I mean, you know what I'm talking about because you have grandkids and stuff, and so, So if you're listening to the rebroadcast of this, I'm just saying, like, share this with, or don't, I mean, you want to get other people involved with leverage. You just do. Because it helps in every area of your life. Your marriage is everything. If you have any questions on anything we covered today, feel free to connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll-free 888-230-2300. That's 888-230-2300. Or if you're calling outside the U.S., you can call the U.S.-based number at 630-393-9909. That's 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Share this with your 2 art buddies. Get them to share it with 2 people. And all of a sudden, you'll have an art, which is an atomic ripple reaction tree. It's how we're all going to reach 7.4 billion people. And it's amazing. Like, it's mind-blowing what that feels like when we start to do that together. So it's an art ripple. It carries out. So always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. God bless and have a great day. Bye-bye.